Good evening, everyone. Joined tonight by Kilwinning Rangers manager Kevin Kelly. Kevin, how are we doing, mate?
I'm alright, thanks Paul. Hi, I'm alright. Busy, it's at that time of year where you're maybe trying to squeeze another one or two players in the door to freshen the place up. But we're doing alright.
I'm saying that wee song, Top of the World, looking down on.
Of course.
Listen, delighted to have you on, mate. You guys are going really well at the moment. Sitting at the top of the tree of the Green Varsity, West of Scotland First Division. I suppose the right place to start would I kind of want to get your thoughts on Colin Riley's departure at Arthurlie. I've just interviewed him last night, and the interview went live earlier on today. What do you think of that, Kevin? Being at the top of the league, that Arthurlie are sitting 13 points behind you guys, but they've got 6 games in hand. How does that affect you guys as a team, you as a manager?
When I seen it last night, or on Sunday night, I was Monday night. Sorry, I was perplexed. I don't get me wrong. You're a manager and you think, right, okay, that maybe puts one or two things in your favour. It can have the opposite effect. But for Colin himself, I was perplexed at the decision. If you look at it, they are still sitting pretty. Everybody in this league is going to go through a run where it doesn't fall for you at times. And it's about being patient and being willing to work through that. And somebody like Colin, who's been through that sort of thing at Villa Clyde and then getting the opportunity at Arthurlie, he deserved much more than that, is what I would feel. But the club have made their decision, and it is what it is. But I think for him personally, it's definitely a sore one for everything that I know he'd done for the club.
He used a phrase, "That's football," quite often in the interview. But it's you're a manager. If it happened to you, it's got to leave a sour taste in your mouth, hasn't it?
Aye, definitely. I read his statement, and listen, he doesn't miss a dartboard, but again, to be honest, quite rightly so. When you hear the things that have maybe went on at the club, or have went on for himself. I was last year. They were on a great run at the Scottish Cup final, and I know there was a wee bit of turmoil there as well. And for him himself, being able to galvanise the players to get them to the position that they were in last year at the Scottish Cup final and things like that, and then to have to replicate that this year when you're going for a league title, for him it must have been mentally and physically draining as well. So it's going to take its toll in both sense. In the sense that it's just football, I suppose it is a results-driven business, but you've got to have a bit of realisation and look at the commodity that you're in. And I feel terrible for him.
It is a results-driven business. However, Arthurlie set a clean sheet record this season. They've conceded less goals in the league. Okay, they've played less games than most folk, but they've conceded 15 goals all season, which is every other team have conceded sort of double. And like I says, say they win their next 14 games, right? That's 42 points. That would take them to 74. And I think it is just, it's scunning for the guy. I think it's absolutely scunning, because you look at that table, you're just like, why? Why is that decision being made?
And that's why I was perplexed by it, and obviously it comes right in the group chat, and you're thinking, how do you get to that decision in the standings that you're at, And I think if you was to go and reflect on it, in maybe a week or two's time, maybe I thought maybe I should have left at the end of last year when we were on a high, and I had to go through everything that I went through last year. But again, you're hoping that you don't have to do that this year, because you've got the experience of what you had to do last year. But nah, it's mad for me. It's and I hope, touch wood, that I personally am never in a scenario like that at a club, because you're right, it would certainly leave a sour taste, and you would have that resentment and things. But one thing I would say is that he should be proud of what he achieved at that time, and especially the players that he was able to keep and bring to the club under those circumstances. So if it's anything for him, I would say that he should be proud of what he was able to achieve at Athlone.
They have a cracking squad. With some players that will go and hurt teams. I think the boy Mark Taylor, Sparky up tops, on his days, unreal. They've got Connor Bulge. I actually looked at their bench against Cumbernauld United, and Connor was on the bench. I'm sure Mark Taylor was on the bench as well. Colin alluded yesterday that he is very much, you come in and work hard for me, you'll start. If you come in and perform, you'll start. And he did say that he wasn't getting as much for some players as he felt he should have. The Kilwinning Arthurlie game comes very soon as well. Next week, isn't it, Kev?
Yeah, next Saturday.
Isn't it? So, again, as a manager, the obviously Colin losing's job isn't great, but as a manager and as a football person, you're maybe licking your lips. You did say it might have the adverse effect, and they might come out and be all guns blazing, and because it can have that effect. But a bit of turmoil at a club coming to you guys, surely you're looking at that and going, maybe we can capitalise on that.
Well, obviously, the thing for the game next Saturday as well, Paul, is that we only played them 3 weeks ago or something, and in a week where we had 3 games in a week, and we managed to take 9 points. But I was impressed by them. I thought they were probably one of the better sides that we've played this year, by a good way. And when you go to the game next week, you're hoping that maybe some of the players have got their heads down or whatever. But you've just got to take what comes, because it now becomes an unknown commodity. It becomes an area that nobody knows what they're going into. Is there going to be a new manager there? Is Gary? I seen that Gary had put a thing out saying that this Saturday was going to be his last game.
Yeah.
Who takes it over, and so there's lots of unknowns. So, like I say, it can definitely work in its favour at times. You sometimes get that new manager bounce where you end up going on a wee run. And to be honest, at Athlone, I feel that they could do that anyway. Whether Colin was there or not. Because of the players they have, but
because of the players that they've got. And Colin did say that yesterday as well. To be fair, he says, even when we know there, that they've got talented players and they've got boys that can go and hurt you. You know what I mean? It'll be interesting to see how they go about it, because it's not like a Gart Cairn in the first in the Premier, where Gart Cairn obviously, or Mick Dunlop, handed in his resignation last week, along with Paddy, and they've only got 6 games left, and they're looking like it could go tits up for them. Do you know what I mean? And Athlone got 14 games remaining, so I would imagine that they would, if Gary's leaving, that just leaves Bishy, and 1 or 2 others that maybe do some coaching within the team. So I would imagine that they would want to look to appoint a management team. The thing is everybody having seen that, everybody maybe knowing that the club's in a bit of turmoil, would they take that on? How the Athlone going to approach that now? I'm not actually too sure, Kevin.
I think, growing up in the game, Athlone's always been a club where, they were very lucrative. They're a big club. They still are, and probably feel like ourselves that they shouldn't be in the league that they're in. So I think it will still be an attractive proposition for someone. But
I've seen Big Roland Fabiani put his name in the hat. The old Kilwinning Rangers assistant manager. I'm sure he spoke to Straney last night, and I'm sure Straney said he was with George Grierson at Kilwinning, but I've not seen Big Roland do much in football lately. But maybe that's the kind of person Athlone need now. I don't know. Maybe that's the kind of person that they want to get
somebody
on board.
Come in instead of the shit. Get back to having feet on the ground and trudging away at it and see where it takes him. Absolutely, it could well be somebody like Roland. I know Roland from my time at the club at the moment. He's been in and around the place when I first came in, and I've spoken to him a couple of times. But I think probably for me, I think they need somebody that's got a wee bit of experience of been able to dig things out, because you could go in, depending on how the players react, you could go into a place that's broken, or you could go into a place that's really galvanised and said, right, it's us against the world, and that's certainly what I would be doing is if I was getting in there, because there will be teams sniffing about and people trying to nick the players and all that sort of stuff when you're down. I've been there before. So it's just about how the club react as a whole, really, Paul. It's that's what's going to be the telling sign. Let's see how the club react.
Right, mate. Enough on that. Let's talk about yourself and Kilwinning. Kevin, you're a young manager. No bones about that. You're a young manager, and you manage one of the sort of giants at our level of football, albeit and maybe a lower division that people would expect. For the folk that don't know you, Kevin, tell us a bit about yourself, mate.
Obviously, I started my managerial career at St Roch's under tough circumstances when I was there with my dad, and obviously everybody knows what happened there. So I took it on while he was in hospital with Andy Cameron, and we seen it through. So at the end of the season, we felt it was right to move on, and then you go to WOSFL, who went in a bit of turmoil themselves at that time, and that's why we're saying we've dealt with that previously. So. The chairman hands you a blank bit of paper saying, well, that's all the signed players we've got. And you're like, all right, okay, how much money have you got? Not a penny. You think, right, okay, what do we do here? So we worked hard, we worked tirelessly. I brought Scott Black in straight away. I needed a bit of experience behind me, obviously, knowing Blackie from his time at Petershill and as a player at Maryhill and St Paul. I felt it was important. We managed to bring players in, and then I bring John in. That was one of my major priorities. I've known John for a long time. John McGowan, who's our coach here, and I've known him for a long, long time. And when I got the job, I just kept chipping away. But he was at Petershill and enjoying it with Willie and Millsy. And then when they left, I made it my number one priority to get him in, to the point where we were playing Ben Bob on a Saturday afternoon, and I locked him in a room in the Saturday morning and says, right, let's have it out here. So and then that brought Stephen Saunders in within a week. And
pedigree, obviously.
We've just listen, that speaks for itself, doesn't it? But that's just kind of been fruitful, and then WOSFL finishes, you turn to Cali Locos, and then all of a sudden things go up in the air, and you don't know whether you're going to have a club or not, and you've told players that you're going to sign them and everything else. So we've had our challenging times, and I felt we were relatively successful at Cali Locos with the budget that we had of zero again, and to bring the likes of the calibre of player that we had. And we always just had to try and bring players in with a promise that, one, we would look after them, and that if better opportunities came, then we would promote them to that. And we managed to put Fraser Malcolm out to Clyde at that point. We had Conor McLaughlin training at Kelty. We were providing opportunities, and that's what we had to do. So we done well, and then the Kilwinning job came up, and the chairman was good enough to offer us a post after an interview, and the support that we've received since we've been there has been great. So it's been up and down, but hopefully we continue getting up the way we are at the moment.
The setup down there is absolutely fantastic. It's I've actually know as a media person, wherever I've been down there with St Cadoc's, been down there with Drumchapel, and I don't think I've had any success at all. I think every game we've been down there has either been a draw or we've lost. But the setup down there is absolutely fantastic. And I know there's been tough times behind the scenes. I know that, but I think you've got them now to a place where maybe they can start dreaming again. Because I don't know what your remit was, Kev. I don't know. I speak to Ben fairly often, and I think Ben would probably admit that just a good league position would have been suffice this season in your first season, but you've went and ticked a few more boxes, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, right? Because I don't like to say, but and you as a manager will probably never admit it as well. But listen, you're sitting in a good position, and you've not done yourself any harm.
No, well, the remit when we came in, when we sat around the table just before we signed, the remit was to stay in the league. Yeah. The club we were aware of the financial constraints. It's no secret as to what happened. And what was going on. The chairman sat us down and says, you're getting a third of the budget that we had last year, but we're asking you just consolidate and stay in the league, and like you say, give us a decent league position to to bounce from onto next year, and we were well aware of what we were coming in against. But like you say, the work that the people put in down at the club, they help you do things like where you are at the moment. The facilities, it's probably one of the closest to a full-time environment that you would get at this level.
I would agree. I still think it's one of the best places to go. There's Troon's a great place as well, but there's out of sort of the places that I like going, Kilwinning's definitely up there with one.
Well, the thing is, we came in first day of pre-season, and you speak to the girls at reception, and they say to you, Kevin, what pitch do you want to train on today? And you're like, what? Do I not just use that grass one out there? And I'm like, no, you can use pitch 1, or you can use the Astro this afternoon. And it really opened their eyes. And then the players come in, they use the gym for to start with, and then we go out and we get our work done, and they do that Tuesday, Thursday every week. It's so that that wasn't just a thing for pre-season. But probably the task that I found the hardest, Paul, was attracting players because of the distance. Because I was based.
Because of where you're from as well.
Glasgow, yeah. It was probably the hardest, but we've got there. The let's say the help for the people around about the club. Giving us more information of the kind of Ayrshire district players, but also the players that we knew that we'd come up against last year from the lower leagues that we knew would be able to do a job in this league, and that's proven well. That's proven well along with the players that were already there. So, it was important that we went and done that, and it's got us to where we are.
With 8 games remaining, you are sitting on 45 points, a game in hand over Renfrew, a game more played than Rutherglen, the same games played as Petershill, St Roch's maybe kind of coming up your backsides, but again, they'd only be coming up your backsides if they turn those games in hand into wins. And I suppose for these teams around about you, that's especially Athley, they've and Thornleywood to an extent as well. By the way, this division is absolutely mad. Like it's and you know what I said to Colin last night when I interviewed him, it is categorically the hardest, most competitive division any team will compete in. You go right down probably to Winton Rovers, and every one of them have got a chance at promotion. But what I'm alluding to with you guys, if you guys just go and do your job, you're sitting pretty, aren't you?
And that's the most important thing for us, is that the players just continue to do their job week in, week out, and just treat one game at a time. We had a chat last night at training about what the goals were and what we wanted to do. And if somebody offered you this at the start of the season and knowing what you were coming into, you'd a bit of the handoff. But now it's about capitalising on it, and we just need to make sure that we knuckle down. The work that John and Saunders and Blackie do on the grass is great. It's an enjoyable place to be. You're well looked after, and you just hope that springs good things. And we're sitting nice at the moment, but we've got a very, very tough run of fixtures going into our last 8, and we'll just see what it takes us. That's all you can do. You just got to keep doing your own work.
How do you prepare the boys mentally for that and physically? Because you have seen teams in the past, and I would to Hopies Durham Chapel, who in their Scottish Cup season, when they went to the third or fourth round, I think it was, they played Elgin, and I think they were 5 or 6 points ahead at that point, and just kind of, although it is later on in the season now, they capitulated and ended up not getting promoted that season. How do you as a manager and your coaching team, how do you set your boys up mentally as well as physically to deal with that challenge?
I think it's just about not looking too far ahead. Well, it's just about, and I know it's an old cliche, but you've just got to take one game at a time. You just prepare for that Saturday, and once it's passed, you can't do anything about it. So you've just got to focus on the next Saturday. There's no point in resting or, looking back and saying, oh, well, we could have done this or we could have done that, because I'd end up with more grey hairs than I've already got if you were to do that, and we just go one game at a time. It's clear, though, that when you get there, the target becomes bigger for other teams to attack, and you become more of a scalp. I was happy it is kind of going under the radar and going about our business, well, and just picking up one after one. But that's not hard either. That's not hard either, because people around the club, no, immediately around the club, but the community, the fans, the people that the club means most to, they get excited, and quite rightly so, because they want to be proud of their team. But these players just, that's what they do. They just knuckle down Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, move on. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. We don't look too far ahead.
There's probably not a better place to start than this Saturday, first v second. Away to Renfrew. Jimmy's got his team well drilled there, hasn't he?
Aye, certainly does. They're a very good side. They're quick in a transition. They work hard. They've got a very good front three. And I think the thing is that when we played them last year, they'd probably say that it was a game of two halves. This season, obviously in 2024, it was a game of two halves. But it's certainly not going to be easy. It's certainly not going to be easy. I know Jimmy, I've spoke to him a number of times, and he's certainly been building that team. If you look, there's not been many changes over the last 2 years. They've had that consistency and that level of consistency with players, as well as movements on the pitch. So no, they've been building. They've built well. They've got some very good players. Big boy Ben Harwood, obviously Martin at front, wee Jojo in the middle of the park. You could go on and on. Dave McCallum at centre half. They've got good players, and players that have got experience at this level. So it's no secret as to why they're there. It's because of what they've been able to build, and you just hope that on Saturday, you've maybe built a wee bit better, or your structure's been a wee bit better to get your result. Because I've got good players in our dressing room, and they just need to continue to believe that when they turn up on Saturday, they can win.
Well, listen, if you're watching this and you're a Kilwinning fan, go and support the boys on Saturday. It's a 2:00 kickoff at New Western Park, home of Renfrew. First versus second, that's a big match.
That's massive.
Listen, good luck to you, mate. Fingers crossed. And that's the normalities out of the way. Let's talk fixtures. The Western Scotland build-up show that is kind of in the name, isn't it? Let's talk about. Let me just pull last night's games up. There was Premier Division action last night. Darvo shots 1 each. St Cadoc's Pollock 1-0, and Clydebank Troon 1-0 to Clydebank. Is there any stopping that Clydebank choo-choo train?
I spoke to, ironically, I didn't realise that Clydebank had a game last night, and I was phoning him off about one or two other things, and he was telling me he was on his way to the game, and when I was talking to him, he was just a bit like us. He was just saying we just need to continue to take one game at a time. But if you look at the results that they're ticking off, you kind of look at it and think that is going to take some stopping. And fair play to St Rocks, earlier in the season, been able to put them out of the cup, because that's no mean feat. And
you have a wee sort of like to yourself, did you?
No, I certainly never, because I've got a very very good relationship with him off, and I hope he does it, because again, it's that kind of soft spot in the sense that you come the roots that you came through at Rossvale and things, a wee bit like myself. And I love the football he plays as well. They're aggressive, they're quick, they get the ball through the pitch, and I've seen him play twice this year, and I've been very very impressed with him. So no, that's a great result, and to get another clean sheet, fair play to him, especially in the issues he's had in the goalkeeping department. With his injuries, it's just been nuts. So no, it's great to see him up there.
You were on the phone to Moth last night for one or two other things. Would you like to allude to those one or two other things?
no, listen, we're just talking about,
We're talking football.
Aye.
St Cadoc's in the turmoil that they're in have turned. St Cadoc's do that actually really well. When they're maybe in a bad place, they'll maybe make a decision that's a bit out of this sort of world almost, and it kind of rejuvenates them a wee bit. We had that with John Doyle last year, 2 years ago, sorry. When looking on, or for the outside looking in, John probably shouldn't have lost his job, given how it was going at the time. But what happened there is they rejuvenated the team, and they went on and won the last 6 games, and ultimately lost the league by a point on the last day of the season. They've beat Johnson Borough on Saturday, and they went and beat Pollock last night. and it's an under-20s boy that's come in and scored the winner. And it's his first touch. I was at the game, and they've ended the game with 4 under-20s, 5 under-20s, in their 11. What's for St Cadoc's? What do you think is going to happen there over the next couple of weeks, mate?
I don't know. Again, it was one of those things when I seen what had happened. You're like, what's going on there? What's going on there? And some people would have said they were underachieving. Some people would have said that it was probably about right where they are. And only Martin would have been able to tell you that himself. Being at the helm. But like you say, that sometimes that new manager bounce can be what you're looking at, and it's been fruitful for them so far. So let's see where they move to. I know there's been lots of murmurs and whispers as to what's going on behind the scenes, and I'm sure it wasn't as cut and dried as what we've seen on social media, in the sense that just Martin leaving. But it'll be interesting to see the appointment they make, because they're a good club. They've got good foundations. You're saying there about having a good youth pathway. It's something that we look to at our club a lot. So I understand where they're going with that, and fair play if they're getting 4 under-20s on the pitch at that level against a side like Pollock, then and coming out on top, then well done to them.
Gary Muir, who he's an interim charge now. He's an under-20s manager, and was playing at Drumchapel just recently as well. Obviously, him being interim manager, it's the Catholics has put paid to that at the moment. But I don't think Gary's done himself any harm. And by the way, I don't know if you know Gary personally, but Gary is an unbelievable coach. So see if that is the appointment that they make, I'd be all for it.
I would agree. I always enjoyed Gary as a player. I thought he was excellent. Don't get me wrong. I never had an easy time. Never ever had an easy time against him.
He's great for the dressing room as well. He's funny.
And everybody you speak to tells you how good a guy he is. And he's a different guy on the pitch as to his off the pitch. So it just shows you how well he manages himself.
Yeah.
So no, I always like to see somebody coming through, and if Gary manages to get that job, then fair play. Fair play.
I'm all for it. Let's quickly touch on Darvel. Shots, 1 each last night. Probably not the result either of those wanted. I think if they've got any aspirations of staying in the division, one of them have got to have gone. One of them have got to have gone and tried and taken 3 points, but ultimately it's been honours even. I don't think they've done themselves any favours.
Nah. Somebody would have looked to have come out on top there, and knowing John the way I do it at his shots. I'm sure he was looking to continue that decent run of form that they've been on, picking up points here and there. So I'm sure he might feel that it's no hurt him, because he still has a game in hand over Hurlford. But I'm sure he would be looking for 3 points here. Aye.
Tonight's match is kicking off in around about an hour or two's time. Coming up against Auchinleck. That's a derby. That'll be packing down at Townhead Park. Sorry, and Benburb Drumchapel. 2 games that coming off the back of a decent win. Auchinleck Talbot on a great run at the moment in 9 games. And obviously getting into the West Cup final. Tucker doing what Tucker does. What's your thoughts there? Auchinleck coming up.
It's incredible what Tucker does, isn't it? Like, everybody's looking for a bit of that potion, whatever that is, because
we were all talking. We were in the media chat last night, and we were trying to figure out. And I don't even think there's any mathematics that can actually solve it. We're trying to find out how many managers have been and gone in the West of Scotland or the old West Region Juniors since Tucker has been appointed. I don't even know. How do you figure that one out?
Aye, it's incredible, and it just goes to show you the success that he's been able to bring. And even when they've maybe had the success that they're looking for, the way that they've stuck by him, he's went through a transition period, bringing in youth players last season and things like that. So no, that'll be a massive game down there. That'll be a big game down there. The derby that it is, and everything that comes with it. Don't get me wrong. I don't think there's lots to play for, with both sides. That I think that both sides will see themselves in the league fine next year where they are. But a derby always brings something, doesn't it? Always brings that edge. And I'm sure if I was a player in that dressing room, I'd be doing everything I can to try and hide in a cupboard this afternoon and my luck to be in best form for the night, Yeah,
my team Drumchapel on the road against Benburb. I spoke to Hope on Monday night, and he seems to be quite happy with the way things are going. We aren't a squad that, I mean, he says on his interview, we've got 14 players, 2 goalkeepers, 1's injured, and we've been bringing 3-4 under 20s in every week for the past 5 or 6 weeks. We've got a couple of players signed that don't play with us, but they're due to other commitments, and they could maybe be called upon. But as the host of this show and not the media guy at Drumchapel, I think you've got to commend Hope and the management team for such a good job.
I think they've done a great job. Like I say, and if somebody was to say to you, listen, with 8 games to go, you'll be above Auchinleck and Beath, you'd have bit their hand off because you'd think, well, I'll be first or second. But it just shows you the other clubs and what they've been able to achieve. But fair play to Adam and John, because some of the players have got are exceptional, and being able to bring them up to the due on a Tuesday and a Thursday or a Monday and Wednesday whenever they're training week in, week out is no mean feat. But I think they'll push on now for this season and really push on for next year. I think they'll be the team to watch next year. I think their football's really attractive as well, Paul. Like, I've seen a couple of games this year. Obviously, we played them pre-season.
Yeah.
The tempo at which they play, the demands that they're putting on the players, I think, very, very good. And from you look at Adam's managerial career, he's always been successful, and hopefully for him he continues that, because I've got a very good relationship with both of them.
Fingers crossed. Got a junior cup to go as well, so
Exactly.
I know, I think you've done a great job there. Right, let's chew the fat, crack on. Those 2 games tonight are a 7:45 kick-off and an 8 o'clock kick-off respectively. Premier Division Saturday games. Auchinleck Talbot are in South Challenge Cup duty against Beath Hawthorn. Beath Juniors against Clydebank. Benburb host Tyrone. Cumnock Juniors play St Cadoc's. Hurlford Park, Johnston Borough, Darvo. We'll touch on what will be my game of the day, and I hate saying it, but it's Clydebank on that train towards a potential promotion. They are away to Beath Juniors. How do they navigate that one, Kevin?
I think it's one of the things. It's a wee bit like ourselves, getting in against Arfley next week. Muff probably doesn't fully understand what he's getting up against because of how unknown it is at the moment. There's lots going on. So I think he's probably just going to say to his team, just make sure you win. It's not going to have to be pretty. You just make sure that the result falls in our favour, however that may be, whether it goes in after somebody in the 90th minute or you go away and you win, 5 or 6, which they're more than capable of doing. We've seen that this year. I think they've scored 7 goals or something in 4 different games or something this year. So, they're more than capable of doing that, but he'll just be concentrating on them, winning week in, week out. And I really hope he does, go and do that this year, because, I don't foresee fully that Johnson Borough will catch them. It would take a lot for Clydebank to capitulate, but if he can do that without getting beat, I'd really like him to do that. I would be really happy for him at that.
Tyrone went there last week, 2 weeks ago, and put 5 past B. That kind of shows you the turmoil that they are in at the moment. Their players, they've got really good players at that club. Their players will be wanting to turn turmoil into what's the saying? They'll want to turn a bad situation into something more positive, and they'll not be willing to let Clydebank just come in and take the 3 points.
Oh, absolutely. The people around that club are far too proud to do that as well. It means too much to them. But you see, they managed to turn it around again. They beat Gartcairn 2-1 last week. So they've got it in them. They've got it in them, because as much as Gartcairn, where they're sitting in the table, you forget that they also have a points deduction. So, it's no fully viable as to that. So that's no an easy task going to Gartcairn and winning on the AstroTurf there. So they've definitely got something about them. It's just obviously the players being able to galvanise and make sure that doesn't happen on their patch.
Let's quickly touch on Gartcairn. They've played the most games in the league. They've got 6 games left. Can they turn that around, Kevin?
I don't know. You'd hope so. You would hope
Yeah.
so. I've heard that through the grapevine. I think that Kyle Hutton's going to take the job to the end of the year.
Kyle, so I've Kyle and Sturlo. So Sturlo's injured at the moment, so I would probably say that it would be Sturlo that would get, given that Kyle's still fit and Kyle's probably wanting to play as well. So I would imagine that they two are the kind of senior figures in the team. But I would imagine it'll be Sturlo at the sidelines.
I think having played the most games, when I look to yourself, it gives somebody a target to catch, and it can give people that extra edge, when you've got something to aim for. But you just think there's been lots going on at the club, and as a player's focus been elsewhere when so much has been going on, especially when Mick and Paddy and Bill brought the players to that club, and again it's going to be a learning curve for Sturlo and Kyle in their kind of first managerial role to try and see this out. So for them and starting that, I hope so. Again, just as a young coach myself, you want others to do well, and I'm sure with the experience, they might be able to add one or two that might get them to where they need to be. But I just look at the other teams round about and think they've maybe got a wee bit too much.
Yeah, I bumped into Ryan Lockyer last night at the St Carrick's game, and although he doesn't allude too much because obviously he's a player for a club, but he did. I spoke to him and I said, player for player, Gap Cairn probably should be doing a lot better, and that's probably what's ended up leading to Mick leaving the post. So listen, we'll watch that one with wide eyes and see if.
Definitely.
Listen, they're a very even out with they're a great bunch. I love Big Army. He's a great guy. But I think this season, looking at that table, I think they've maybe just bit enough more that they can chew. That deduction,
deduction kills them,
killed them, and that's that could have an effect everywhere. You know what I mean? The heads could go thinking, well, we're going to end up getting relegated anyway. But
you lose that edge. The players lose that edge of what they've got to play for, especially when sometimes you maybe feel like I was saying earlier, maybe the world's against you, and see, to be honest, when I look at it, the Comet thing was far from easy. I do feel that, especially in the first season, there should have been something, agreed that, and I know it happened at the top level at Partick Thistle. I know that happened.
Rocco Diak.
That's right.
And somebody had to run and say you can't play him, and I think the gaffer was a bit like what and listen, I run an amateur team, and we get 3 points deducted as well. So we had a boy who had 2 registrations on the Comet system, and I registered him on the registration that he had with his Saturday team. So now you put it through. I don't know how aware you are of it, but if you're amateur and you're playing Saturday and Sunday, you have to put it through as a dual registration now, right? So that's what we done. But he had another registration with a team that were in our league. So the league. It's incredible that we get deducted the 3 points. I sat in the disciplinary, and what the league said, the league secretary or the league chairman, said is you didn't follow league registration procedure, and I didn't even know what to say to that, because we did, but we were told that when you registered the player, it would have brought up his other registration, and you should have put the right registration. So listen, it's done now. We had talking about faultation. I've definitely got one, because we sit second behind Kelburn, 5 points behind with a game in hand. So without that 3 points deduction, it would be 2 points behind with a game in hand, still to play top of the table.
I do feel that there should have
been. And I told Army, I spoke to Army about that back then when I knew it was going to happen, and I was going to try and get him to get me lawyered up in that, because Because at that point, you know, I'm raging, and then I go, do you know what, man? It's amateur football. What's the point of getting our knickers in a twist? And still scanners me. Let's move on, mate. Very quickly into your division, mate. Bantire host Petershill, Cumbernauld United, Mabel, Kilwinning Ladeside, Arthurlie, Kirky Robroy, Irvine Meadow, Renfrew, Kilwinning, Rutherglen, Glencairn, St Rochs, Valley, Clyde, Thornywood, Ashfield, Ardross, Winton, Rovers. We've touched on your game already. Game of the day for me would have been yours, but we've touched on already. We'll go Rutherglen against St Rochs, two teams vying for that promotion. They're mathematically still in with a shout with the championship, but I would imagine those two managers would be happy just getting up the division. So, just how tough an ask is that on Kendall going to Rutherglen on Saturday?
Listen, you look at that, third v fifth. It's not far away from ourselves, and I think Ian's done a good job at St Rochs. I know people have said they've went through a lot of players and everything else that's going on at the club, but if it's not working, then you need to change it until it does. So, fair play to him there, and he's got a good side together. We have still to play them twice. It's incredible. We played them twice in the last two games of the season. It's just nuts.
But one after the other.
Aye.
Wow.
Aye.
Kenny, what are you doing?
Honestly,
watching this, mate.
so we know how tough that's going to be, and obviously, going to both places, Glencairn and St Rochs, both managers, will enjoy their home form. I don't know how much they'll enjoy going away to each other. So, that's a big game for both clubs. Aye.
You also have, 2 seconds. I want to touch on Kirky Robroy Meadow, two teams. Sort of the bottom end of the table. I spoke to Jamie last week, and he's galvanised the team, hasn't he?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I must say when we played against them earlier in the season, probably I felt that 4-3 flattered them. They scored two late goals, and I felt we could have maybe had another couple ourselves. But that's what Jamie does. I've known Jamie for a long time, managed against them for a while now. Always come up against his sides, and it's always been, they're very dogged with good quality in and around. So I wasn't under any, false pretenses that it wasn't going to, galvanise him and the professionalism that he brings. But they've still got a long way to go. The same way, Rob Roy. I think the bottom of the table's as hot as the top of the table at this moment in time, other than maybe Ashfield. I'm sure they won't mind me saying it, but I just think that all those teams have got something to play for, so they've all got that edge. They've all got that edge to try and keep themselves up. So, fair play to them, and I'm sure it'll be a decent enough game. Where is that game? Is it at Rob Roy, or is it?
It's at Rob Roy. It's in the new place in Kirky.
I must say, I was very, very impressed with that when we went up there a couple of weeks ago.
Chatting new place in it. We were one of the first
places on it. Yeah, the surface is excellent. The way you get looked after, everything about it. Gibby's certainly got a wee gem on his hands up there if he can get it right.
Yep. Moving on to the second division, another division that's looking a wee bit tasty. This week, Cali Locals they entertain Bonnet and Thistle. Lanark United at home to Craigmark. Larkhall Thistle, Kilsyth Rangers, Lesmie Hagel Cambuslang, Maryhill Whitlets, Muirkirk, Bells Hill, Neilston Forth, and Yoker St Anthony's. Quite hard to pick a game of the day there, but let's touch on Muirkirk, Bells Hill, because Muirkirk are probably, they've only lost 2 games all season. Ross Cusick's doing an incredible job up there, sorry. But Whitlets I said it right at the beginning of the year. I think if Whitlets and Neilson didn't go up this season, it would be one of those ones where they would maybe struggle to actually get back up the leagues, because we know how hard going these leagues are, and when you've got a team dropping for the first division into the second division, it then becomes a league of teams that used to be in the first division, and it's a bit harder than it would naturally be. Let's touch on Muirkirk, Bells Hill. I know Bells Hill are a wee bit further down the league, but I want to touch on Muircup just purely because of the good job that Ross is doing, and they played 4 games less than the league leaders, and they sit 6 points behind them. Muircup Bellshill, is that a foregone conclusion? It's not a foregone conclusion, isn't it? Because it's not, you don't get foregone conclusions in these divisions, but position senses that Muircup are obviously at home. That surface is notoriously hard to play on, but Muircup know how to do it. I personally see a Muircup win. What about yourself?
I would probably say, for me, I would say a Muircup win, and that's not putting any pressure on Ross. I think he's done a fantastic job down there. When we played them last year, it definitely felt, and we came off the park saying that, if they continue, they're definitely building something here. And we also played them earlier in the year, and it went extra time, and I think it was the West. I think we played them in.
They've had a cracking. They had a right good run in that West, only getting the right bill at Talbot 2-0. And by the way,
it must have been a South Challenge, then we played them in, but fair play to him, the job that he's done there. And you look at his side as well, the youth that's through it. I think they only maybe added 2 or 3 players this year. We currently have a player out on loan at the moment, but that's only been very, very recent. I think the job that the boys have done at Muircup's been great. And I really just personally, I know I played at Neilston under Andy, who's there at the moment, but I do hope they go on to win it. I hope they manage to galvanise themselves and bring it together and go and win those games in hand, because they deserve it. I know the work that Ross puts in there. So I hope they do.
Let's quickly touch on Neilson, because I said in the show last week, Andy's done an incredible job, given, I think you need to take a look at the first game of the season with Larkham up there and scalped them 6-0. What a great job he's done since then.
Knowing Andy personally, obviously, he was my gaffer up there when I played up there. And also, so was Craig Murphy and Derek. They played in the same team. So, there is a touch there for me. But Andy's one of these guys that is very dogged, and he's very thorough at things that he's doing, and he works hard to get what he wants. And that was clear to me when I played there, and knowing him as a manager now and the things that the club are trying to do. I don't think it's any coincidence where they are. They've got some very good players, They've got some very, very good players. They've got a good squad together. But I think if you were going to match them up with Muircup, I think Muircup maybe just have that wee bit of edge and experience now with them. But if I had my own way, then they would both finish first and second.
Hear me happen. Division 2, Girvan at home to Perthshire. Glasgow Uni take on Vale Leaving. Glenvale at home to Glasgow United. Irvine Victoria Fanart. Kilsyth Athletic host High Flyers Greenock Juniors. The league leaders Thorn host Lugar Boswell. Threave Rovers go to Ardea. Wishaw Dalry. Game of the day, without a shadow of a doubt, is Threave against Ardea. Threave at home are a different animal. I've said this before. I don't understand it. They don't seem to travel well, but
they want another win for travelling.
Listen, I know, but you would just expect. I don't know if some of the players are going, nah, screw it, we're not coming up, we're not getting on the bus this week, we can't be bothered. Or they're just a team that don't travel well. That's a difficult ask for Sean and his Ardea team, although the two of them are sitting sort of side by side in the league. But that's a massive game for both teams, isn't it?
It certainly is. It certainly is. Like you say, going to Threave, I think that works both ways, and I'm no joking about that. The travelling can definitely have an adverse effect at times, depending on how long you're travelling for. But no, you look at Threave only played 17 games. I think they've maybe got 4 or 5 games in hand over the teams at the top.
They do.
And if they win them, then it takes them certainly close. So it's massive for both. I'm sure if Ardea win that, they might feel they're starting to pull away a wee bit. But I think everybody at the top will be looking down at Threave and saying, I hope they don't pull it together, because if they do, we could be in for a real battle here.
Threave, obviously, when I was down there, I was in Cardiff, had a chat with a committee, and they were quite happy to come over. They've obviously drop in. Listen, they've taken it. It's a massive gamble, because they were tier 6 already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they make that transition. They've taken themselves down to tier 9, tier 8, tier 9. To do what's better for it. And so far so far it's looking like it's worked. They're in pole position. They let people know about it because they've got 5 games in hand over Kilsyth, 5 games in hand over Ardea, 4 over Greenock, and 5 over Thorn. Thorn look like they're going to go and take that. Right, I love Thorn to bits, but I'm now sick of talking about them. Like, I'm just, it's a foregone conclusion for me. They will go up. Whether they go up as champions is a different story. But Threave Rovers just need to now go and win their games in hand, don't they?
I think from experience, it's always easier saying that. I think they're better with points on the board.
You said that at the beginning of the show, isn't it? When you've got games in hand, you need to actually go and win those games in hand.
Absolutely. And I look at the places that you need to go in that league. That you're going to places like Perthshire, going to places like Glasgow United, Kilsyth, Greenock. They're no easy places to go. They're no easy places to go. And you if you're Threave, you're hoping that they're behind you and you've got them at home and they need to travel to you because if they're one of your 4 or 5 games in hand, you're no looking thinking, okay, we should take care of that. You're going there thinking, I hope we come away with that unscathed. So it'll be tough for them, but hopefully for themselves and everything that the club's been through, that they managed to pull it together and get themselves up.
Well, I spend a wee bit of time talking about the 4th division because there is other divisions other than the Premier in the first, isn't there?
Absolutely.
So there's a couple of good games in that 4th division. I know Campbelltown, Saltcoats taking that mad trip to Kintyre Park. See, for me, man, I look at that and I'm like, yes, that's a definite bevy trip on the way back, isn't it? It's 100% a bevy trip on the way back. And listen, I hope Drumchap will draw them at some point, man, because I love that. Okay, so Campbelltown pupils, Saltcoats Victoria, Knightswood against Kello, Newmains take on BSC, the Port at home at Parklea at Easterhouse, Royal Albert take on Carluke, West Park United at home to Rossvale, Eglinton take on East Kilbride, and GSC, or Giffnock, take on St Peters. 2 very tasty ties in that division now. Folk will have Knightswood done and dusted, but they've not won the league yet. They're promoted right as far as I'm concerned. Knightswood against Kello. Kello might have something to say about that because Kello are obviously sitting in 3rd place. So that's 1st versus 3rd. But there is a 20-point gap between the 2 teams, and Knightswood have played 2 more than Kello. But Kello are an old-style junior team who have been there, done it, wore the T-shirt, and I actually think they could go and inflict a second defeat for Knightswood. What do you think?
We went there pre-season. We played their pre-season. I think it was maybe our last game of pre-season this year. And it's no an easy place to go. So you can understand why they are where they are because they make it hard for you. They're rugged. They're good at the top end of the pitch. And I'm sure if they've got any aspirations of getting up this year and want to secure it quicker than others, then looking to Saturday is something that they're going to have to look to get 3 points from. Again, that's not going to be easy. No. I would agree. I would say that Knightswood are up. I also would agree saying that it's not a foregone conclusion that they're going to win it.
Yeah.
Again, we've played Port Glasgow in a friendly just not that long ago, in between Christmas and New Year.
Yeah.
And I was impressed with them. So no, you're right. These teams will make it hard for Knightswood, and listen, they've got very good quality at Knightswood. I know a few of the players personally. William Coogans and Big Reese.
Is that what he is, Liam?
Aye.
I didn't even know that. He is a very, very good player.
Aye, Coogs is playing at Knightswood along with Big Reese and Dan and Kenny, and they've got very good experience in there, and the young players that they've got. The other thing I must say about Knightswood is their goalie's exceptional. Omar, we had Omar at Cali Locos for one game. We played Clydebank in a friendly, and what happened was he was training with Partick Thistle ladies, and our goalie got injured in the warm-up. And we asked him to play, and he's exceptional. His distribution's unbelievable. And he told us that he'd never really played competitive football before. So, in that, you've got to have a good defence, and the wee man in goals is definitely something for them. I'm sure clubs will be looking at them come the summer. But they've got a good foundation there, and they'll look to build on it as much as Kello will.
Yeah, that's something that the Partick Thistle Trust. I know, obviously, you've got a good affiliation with them, but that's something the Partick Thistle Trust did really well, and I kind of alluded to that at amateur football as well, because we played up at Petersall quite a lot during my spell with Ashfield when we had Ashfield amateurs, and I was watching some of the boys. It was obviously teams that the boys have came to Asylum and stuff like that, and you're looking, and a couple of the boys said, "Oh, we've never played football before," and I'm looking and going, "You're lying." You're lying. You're very, very good. Like we had a boy Sadiq, and he told us that he'd never 6'5" a boy was, man, an absolute animal. Like, what a player. Do you play football? I've never played football. I don't play football. I'm like, you're very good, So it's good. Listen, I like to hear stories like that, because are Partick Thistle still doing that sort of thing? Are they still doing the?
The trust have got a football for all programme that was obviously started when my dad was there, and along with David Galt and John McGowan, who I work with, and that's been taken forward since they've all moved on. But they still do that Tuesday, Thursday, and like you say, sometimes you go up there and you find a wee gem. And it's just about again providing an opportunity for some of these guys that have never had it. Go up and have a look on a Tuesday and Thursday.
just go up and sit for 3 hours. Eat my dinner, watching players, trying to get a good player for my amateur team. The other fixture, Kevin, that we mentioned about was the Easter House match. They travel to Port Glasgow Juniors. Port Glasgow sitting second, Easter House sitting fourth. Both played the same amount of games, although there is a considerable points difference between the two teams. There's 15 points between them. But again, if Port Glasgow have got any aspirations of catching Knightswood, they've got to win that.
100%. I think the pressure's probably more on Port Glasgow if they've got aspirations of winning the league than it is on Easter House, because Easter House will probably see themselves as challenging as long as they get the results right. I know that other teams might have games in hand, but again, you need to win them. I just think that if Port Glasgow have got anything about them to go and win that league, then they need to win, and they need to win on Saturday and take chances like that. Because let's say I was very impressed with Port Glasgow. I've watched them once and played against them once, and they've got good experience, but they've got some very good youthful players there. And I think again, a bit like Ross at Muircut, they're certainly building something there for the future if they can keep those players together, and people like Midge can kick about maybe for another year to help them through that.
A lot of these players are starting to age, aren't they?
Aye, absolutely. It's funny because we were talking about that last night. Well, when I was saying earlier on the show about maybe adding 1 or 2 if we can. The names that you're putting forward, you're thinking, well, hold on a minute, he's maybe 34 now instead of 24. You just kind of take it for granted that they're still playing. But I just think if you can get that wee bit of experience, like Midge, to try and help you over the line in those divisions, then you've got to use it. And I'm sure Port Glasgow will be tapping into that as much as he can.
Kev, did you manage to watch the wee interview that PG did with the boy who wrote the article about the change, the reform, the restructuring? Did you manage to get a look at it?
No, I've not yet. I haven't yet.
I'll get Ben to send you something that he sent me yesterday. I don't, obviously, we on the show keep a bit of an eye on it to see if there's actually any sort of structure that's going to change the way the West of Scotland, the East of Scotland, the Lowland League 2, Lowland League Conference, whatever it is they want to call it. Actually, I was going to message you last night about it because I did want to talk about it today, but we'll leave that for another day. Listen, I need to get our wee sponsors in. So VSN Sports are the proud sponsors of Pyramid Promotions and all of our shows. Top quality teamwear suppliers at fantastic prices. They are nice and local. They're based in Donnerbank Industrial Estate. If you give them a phone in 0141 883-7612 and ask for Gary. I said yesterday in an interview with Colin, you would have probably seen Gary at some point because he's been travelling the length and breadth of Scotland, punting his product, which, by the way, my amateur team have got them. You guys use them as well.
We used them at St. Rock's as well. Towards the end, we used them at St. Rock's.
Well, they pulled some cracking kits for the Rock, didn't they? But
yeah, absolutely.
I would obviously advise any teams out with the West of Scotland as well who are maybe watching this, who are looking for a top quality teamwear supplier. And they are very well priced, given the product's very good as well. Gary's the guy with a big beard. You'll see him talking about various stadiums and venues over the next couple of weeks as well. Listen, Kevin, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the build-up show. That is a very tasty tie on Saturday. I hope the Kilwinning fans turn up in their droves for you. And then I'm saying it's a very tasty tie. Your next 8 games are all tasty, aren't they? And like you said, you'll just take it one at a time.
We've just got to take one at a time. Like I say, the support that we get to our games is incredible, whether we're home or away. We went to Cumbernauld last week, and I think we had a full 70-seater.
And
the support that the community have given us, out with the committee has been great, and we just hope that they can continue to do that, and we hope that we're able to achieve something for them and make them proud of the club.
Now, listen, I have said plenty of times before, the word sleeping giant is used amongst a few teams within the West of Scotland. Kilwinning Rangers could probably consider themselves one of those. A good young manager given a good chance by a board that are forward thinking, mate. I wish you all the best and good luck for the rest of the season, buddy.
Thanks a lot, Paul. Appreciate that. Cheers.